What's going on, y'all? This is your man Spirulina, and welcome to another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. Yes. And live, you know I am. So in the background, you're listening to one of my newest mixes. Yeah, I'm always working on new mixes because so much going on in my head, and I'm always writing new songs. So I've gotten probably about 6 or 7 new songs that are sitting there and just waiting for their opportunity to get that call. You know, you wait there and you get that call. Um, yeah, and sometimes the call, sometimes the call either never comes or it takes so long to come that it doesn't even matter anymore. Yeah, sometimes that happens, man. Sometimes it's, stuff happens. I'm trying to connect. Here we go. All right, let's get rid of that for a minute and turn that off. Yeah, so sometimes the call comes and then sometimes the call never comes, and then if they don't call, well, you don't call. And why don't you call? You know, that's the question. Why don't you call? Why don't you pick up the phone one of them days and just say, "Hey, you," just called to say hi. Just I don't know. We don't know each other, and I ain't never talked. You know, I always hear you and mom on the phone and back and forth on this, that, and the other, and I just took whatever she said and you not doing this and you not doing that to seem to really solidify. Well, I guess that's who he is. And that's the end of it. You don't hear anything else. You don't hear anything else. You don't see anything else. It's almost like that hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Somehow another became evil. That's a whole new thing, about what's going on with my relationship with dad. I'm trying to see why my live is not showing up here. It's showing that I was live one of these days, but I'm looking for it's not showing up here. So I try to monitor what's. I don't know what's happening. It's a lot of strange stuff. I don't know about you, but it's a lot of strange stuff happening with our electronics. I'm serious. I don't know what's happening with the electronics. What's going on? Um, I know Xfinity recently made some changes to uh, the internet uh, setup here. It's like the channels take longer to boot up, and some of the channels just go. I don't understand what happens. And I mean, I do this every week, so I don't. It's showing me here that I'm live, but I'm not seeing the live, which is a problem. I'm not really sure why I'm not seeing the live. And that's one thing, is nothing showing up here to tell me what's happening. But my phone has been, it's just like really weird what's happening right now. And I don't put nothing past these folks. I don't put nothing past the government, what it is that they do. They got a whole lot of stuff that's going on, man. It doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense that I'm not seeing you guys on here. Um, Not really understanding that part, because as soon as I go live, you guys are supposed to pop right up. It's supposed to pop up in my feed here that I'm live, and I don't know that I'm live yet. So bear with me for a minute here because I see live, but I don't see live on my phone. I don't see anything showing me that I'm live. It keeps saying sorry, something went wrong. But what went wrong? That's the question. Everything seems to be going wrong on the phone here. So bear with me for a minute because I'm not particularly certain what's going on. My phone is connected. I don't know. I don't have it on Wi-Fi or anything like that, which is really, because I don't keep it on Wi-Fi. There's no need for my phone to be on Wi-Fi if I'm in the house. But there's something happening here. And if y'all see me, no, I'm not crazy. I'm just trying to figure out why I'm not seeing anything in my feed. Okay. I don't know why. Just give me a second here and I'm going to find out why. Okay, somebody just said something. Here we go. All right. You just hear that alert. That alert tells me that you are here. So forgive the delay, but I need to be able to monitor what's happening. All right. So it looks like we're cooking with grease now. So let's start that over again. What's happening, y'all? What's popping? I can certainly tell you what's dropping. Another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. I'm your host, as always, Sabir Alim. Listen, as I've been telling you for the last few weeks, you're going to begin to see a different structure to Daddy's Right Here live, because it's time for that transformation. And that's what happens in life itself. There's always there should always be a transformation of no matter what it is, but especially the human being. I'm not the same person. I shouldn't be, but I'm telling you my story. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and so on and so forth. I should always be making a transformation within myself. So it's not just this aging process that happens that so many of us look towards for thought-provoking conversation. When I was younger, I did this. I did this. But that's all the superficial stuff. These are the things that happen at some point in time in life that you just minimize, that you just overlook, that you just downplay because you didn't see them as having any significance. Just know that all that you don't recall is still inside of you. It may not be on your mind, but it's in there. Your unconscious self lives inside of you. It hasn't gone anywhere just because it's not prevalent in your daily activities because you don't seek it out. It shows up. It shows up in all the characteristics that you present to everybody else. It's there. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. It's there. And it rears its ugly head all the time. And I say ugly head because it's something that you have chosen to ignore because of a past that it reminds you of. It's a past. See, when you make decisions about things and how your perception of things are formed by a worldview at a particular time and moment in your life. So if you're still seeing something from your past with a negative perspective, you have to ask yourself why. Yes, things happen in our lives that are very negative. But until we bring resolve to those things, they will be ugly because we don't want to look at it. We don't want to see it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want things in our life that remind us of it. We know we get triggered by things, but we don't want to ask the question why, because asking the question why I do this means I have to look into my unconscious self. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. See, when we start talking about parental absenteeism, that brings up a lot of stuff from the unconscious self. We hear the stories at different points in times as we're growing up. We take issue with the stories at different points in times in our lives. You know, you didn't get that bike you wanted for Christmas. You just know you didn't get the bike. You don't know why you didn't get the bike, but you do know why. That wasn't important. What was important was that you didn't get what you wanted. And when you don't get what you want, you react off of unconscious stuff. Somewhere along the line, you have to shake off the boy. You have to shake off the girl. There are many adults who still haven't done that yet. And I'm not going to put any kind of label or title on a person because I don't know the place that they came from. But most importantly, I don't know the place that they're in right now. I don't know that. So for me to assume that this person is going to be able to internalize what's happening right now from my mindset is just wrong. But we do it all the time. What I did at 18 is what I did at 18. If you knew me when I was 18, you knew the 18-year-old self. You don't know the 65-year-old self. You have no idea. But within you, I am still the 18-year-old self. Within you, that 18-year-old of me still lives in you. Yeah. And that's why when you haven't seen people in a while, the first thing they say is, oh, yeah, you used to be, remember when we used to? And, you know, and I'm like, I have transformed. Some use the term I've moved on. I have transformed throughout the years of my life because I have learned from various experiences that I've had. Do I recall the emotions? No. I can intellectually recall, yeah, I remember being there. I remember when it happened. Like I remember the first time I had a shotgun put in my face. Yeah. I saw him loaded. I'm thinking I'm there for something else, right? Because it wasn't no beef between me and this person. He made sure I saw him load the shotgun, so when it was time for him to aim it at me, I'd already have it in my mind that it was loaded. So I had to have a second thought as to how I was going to approach this situation. But he knew that he needed to have that 12 gauge in his hand. I never saw myself as a threat to anybody. This is a person who was involved in that life of robbing and killing and stealing. He was involved in that. I was never involved in that kind of stuff. And if I was, I wouldn't tell you. I've always been solo. There's no loyalty. There's no loyalty. So I'm looking at that situation. I remember the shotgun. But if I sat here and recall how everything unfolded, I don't recall having any fear in that moment. I don't. And that can have a lot of meanings. I was in my teens then. I think I was probably around 16, 17. Sawed off shotgun. Yeah. Pump shotgun. And I just looked at him. And in my mind, there wasn't like, I know I didn't have any fear in that moment. I recall that. But if I really sat down and delved into the circumstance, there was something below the surface. And that's why you're going to keep hearing me talk about this iceberg concept of self. With the tip of the iceberg being the conscious self. And don't forget, I told you that the conscious self is also what I refer to as the id of the human being, ID. That's the part that wants what it wants when it wants it, and it wants it now. It doesn't care. And it's not that it acts callously all the time. It acts more carelessly. Because when you're thinking only of yourself, right, you're causing harm unbeknownst to you. You're just thinking about you. You're thinking about you. You're not thinking of you. Because to think of you, you'd have to have some knowledge of you. And at the tip of the iceberg, you don't have no knowledge about yourself. You're just doing what you're doing. If I reflect further on it, I know that there was a carelessness of me at that age because of where my mindset was coming up, how I was being raised. No blame here. Everything that is given as a response to a particular behavior is not always an excuse. There are reasons. There are reasons. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's a reason. An excuse would be, I did this. But see, what had happened was, and anytime paragraph begins with that, it's bullshit. That's an excuse. But here's the reality. And this is especially for boys. It gets to both, but especially for boys raised without the presence of a father. Boys are more aggressive when there's no father involved in their lives. So was I seen at the age of 16 in that particular situation? Aggression. For the 16-year-old conditioning. For the 16-year-old condition, I wasn't begging for my life. I wasn't pleading. I wasn't trying to run. I didn't want to run. I wanted to stand my ground. Because remember, this was just an incident with a shotgun. I've had confrontations before, and I didn't run. I didn't run. And as foolish as that is, because you run, you get another day. You get another opportunity to confront that situation. Get another opportunity to see your family, to breathe. But there's always been a level of aggression. And it's different types and levels of aggression. I was just fearless. There were things happening. I'm talking about I was about 16, 15, 16, somewhere around there. 15, 16, at a party, and I'll let you a minute. I said, okay, I'm thinking, something transpired early on. I said, okay, well, maybe, I'm about to find out what transpired and what. But it was something totally unrelated. So really, it caught me off guard. I was actually, I do recall like, this is, I'm thinking he's going to show me something else, and he's showing me something else, which I wasn't interested in. I wasn't interested in gunplay at that point. Matter of fact, me and a homie found my old head. He found a gun in his yard and showed me the gun. It was a German Luger. I remember it. Incident happened. Police was chasing somebody. He saw the person toss it and went into his yard, tall grass, and he picked it up after they. And and well, what you want to do it? Because like we don't need none of this. Because my old head didn't carry no gun. He carried a knife, right? But he always talked to me about throwing hands. But I wanted to keep it. He's like, nah, get rid of it. And he did. He got rid of it. So I was not that kind of dude. But I still had this something in me, and I didn't begin to see it until I got older. And alcohol and drugs played a significant part because they seemed to magnify that which resided within me. But I'm the quiet storm. I'm the one who you, and I'm honest about that. And if you know anything about the Libra, that's just another layer. No, I'm not a madman or anything like that. What I'm trying to explain to you here is that one of the things that happens when a male figure is not present, that energy, that masculinity goes in a whole nother direction. See, a woman can teach a boy how to be a good person. Follow me here. A woman, a mother, can teach a boy to be a good person. She cannot teach him to be a man. I need you to understand this. Mothers have their roles. Stop trying to create a role for a male child based on your expectations, your experiences, your worldview, because you will fail at it. Hold on. Because really think how many times you've given information to that male child that has come from a place that you've been in. And think about the place you're in now with those images that you fed to your male child. I want you to think about that for a minute. You're giving that male child your life's experiences in terms of how you interpreted the relationship between you and your own father. Man who you've had in your life. Are they still there? Were they there? In what capacity were they there? They were. And now they're not. But you still continue to pass on that information into forming that boy's life, taking him totally away from his creation and brought him into a socialized, a societal driven concept of expectations of man's world. You brought him into man's world. You structured things based on man's world. We're not talking about the creation of the world. We're talking about who has been given this place because of their ill conduct. So you're giving him a whole different lens. Now, let's add dad. Because dad is going to do the same exact thing. What his father did, failed to do, what the homies do, all that. Neither of you are giving the boy the right information, because you're giving them information based on this world, on what its expectations are, or what your expectations are, what you believe expectations are. You understand me? So that's the first line of defenselessness that the boy experiences. That's the two of you together. Understand? I want you to begin to see the purpose. So when dad says, Run faster. Don't quit. Stop acting this way and stop acting that way. He's being shaped. The boy is being shaped. It's being shaped and formed. Because there's a role, an innate position that the male automatically takes, that a child automatically takes. But a boy automatically sees that lens because he knows that he's male. So, mom, it's okay. Do your best. Now, don't run that fast. You'll get there. I want you to see how this works. Parenting is a matter of when we're doing it together part right now. Parenting is a matter of when you understand a woman's perspective. I'm not trying to tell you to understand everything of it. I'm trying to get you to understand what she does differently than you and how the two of you together bring balance into the child's life, because the child is going to make whatever decision he's going to make. And we're just talking about the boys right now. Understand, the balance in the child's life is important. If that male child is only getting perspectives and views, only getting communication from a woman's point of view, he is not getting what he needs. That part of him, that 23 chromosomes, because there are 46 chromosomes. 23 are yours, 23 are mom's. Follow me here. Mom nurturing the 23 of hers can happen naturally because of the relationship that we have. Not only because she carried him, but because she exists within him. So when you see little characteristics of things presenting in the behavior of the child, and you begin to question the child's sexuality, because that's what this goes towards, and you have to understand that. It doesn't mean that the child is going to be gay. It means that his way of interacting with the world is more in alignment with a woman's way of dealing with things. Regardless of what his sexuality turns out to be, it's not the issue here. It doesn't matter. But people on the other side of the fence who are observing begin to question because of their own mind everybody else's business rule. And then he begins to get dialogue. He's gentle. He's caring. He's empathetic. He's more emotional. And so on and so forth. He absorbs that of the mother. That's all that's there. His balance on the other side, the other 23 chromosomes, is necessary to be nurtured. Because when it's not nurtured, then the mother is the one giving the instruction to those chromosomes that belong to the father. It's part of the naturalness of the human being. You look at the child looks just like you. You see the behaviors, oh, that's you definitely your father's child. No, that's what your mother does. Right? These things are real, people. They're real. This is a real person. It's a real person. You can't say how, as a child, this is how much you act like your mother, this is how much you act like your father, and it doesn't resonate within your head that they need the other parent. And it never clicks because you're only thinking about yourself. You're only thinking about yourself. Listen, the child, the boy, needs his mother. So the father has to recognize that. But most of the time, that's not even seen. Because you're so stuck on the failed or failing relationship. That's where you're stuck. On a failed or failing relationship. Not thinking about the child. Stop talking about how great of a parent you are. Stop talking about how much you're doing by yourself, how much you're doing on your own. This was not created just by you. Stop trying to make yourself look like you're parent of the damn year. Stop it. Stop it. You're so caught up and absorbed by self that you don't even see what's happening here. It's like putting seeds in the same pot, annuals and perennials. It's like taking something that's a succulent and putting it into something that's not a succulent. One requires more water than the other. One requires more sunlight than the other. If you got two plants together, one needs a lot of sun and one needs, minimal, and you put them both in the sun, which one is going to live? And when I say live, I mean reach its potential. You're going to kill that one that should be in the shade. You're going to kill that one because it doesn't need all of that. But most of the time, we don't know what our children need other than the basics. And depending on our condition will really determine how we provide that. You think taking a child to a fast food restaurant is the best way to raise the child because you don't have time to do everything else. But it's not about you. And then you know what that food is going to do, but you're making it convenient for yourself. So they eat fast food every day. And now you're taking them to the hospital all the time. Now they're having gastrointestinal issues. Now they're having cardio issues, because their arteries are clogged. So now they're having all kind of heart issues. Let me just keep it simple. They're angry all the time because of the diet. You don't think it's because of the diet. They're cussing back at you all the time. And you don't understand why. Because it's an environment that's created because of the balance. And then when you have individuals who themselves are unbalanced, who don't practice patience, who don't practice empathy, who have no idea whatsoever how to raise a child, but believe they do because you got 3 other ones. So now you want to tell this person, well, this is your first one. You don't know. I've been doing this. It doesn't make me that you've been doing it right because you've been doing it. Come on. It doesn't make it right. Both parents are needed for that child. You base life on what you see, what you don't see, what you think you know, what's in social media. You suck all that in. Like, do y'all still believe that they landed on the moon? These people up there now they're not even going to land. They're just going to fly around the moon. And we didn't believe your ass landed on it. Why would we believe that you're just going to go up there again and float around? It doesn't matter because the idea is to keep you distracted. There's a whole lot of stuff that we've been seeing. Yeah, a whole lot of stuff. But we began to see this stuff after an incident. Did the incident even happen? You want to believe that it did. Billions of people have cell phones, but you don't see anything even all of these independent news outlets, podcasts, and everything, nobody has anything. But you believe it's all going on. And you pass this information on to the child. Now, when you have one lens being given to the child, that of the mother, being given to a child, because we know, what is it, 71%, 76% of most, especially Black households, are female driven. Yeah, because, like they always say, well, y'all can leave. I'm going to always have the child. Yeah, that's true. But even when we're supposed to be working together, you always have the child and don't allow for freedom in between the wiggle room. Well, let me come get him this weekend. Why I got to be scheduled? You getting a break. Now you calling me, telling me I need a break. See, that kind of energy is what you should be getting. And you should be helping with that. But then when you ask, can I help you? And you get all this other stuff, then you're told, because you got to do it the way you're being asked to do it. I asked you to do it this way. Well, in some cases, you're being told. But then you see the imbalance that happens. So when you have the male there, agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. You're wasting your time telling me how to do this and how to do that and be this and be that so you can be satisfied. You can be happy with how it's being done. But when I start trying to tell you about the same thing, then it's all hell. Because I'm trying to tell you as the mother what to do. It's like I always say this to my wife, and it's not an argument. It's the reality that when men cook, and I found this with me, when men are cooking dinner, we're pressed as to how long you're going to be. Now you're hungry as hell. You're hungry as hell now. I'm cooking dinner. You want, is it ready yet? How long before? Because I'm hungry. Then you want to go dibble and dabble in the refrigerator and snack on some stuff until dinner is done. But if I do that, but you see me cooking? I'm cooking. Why would you want to go eat something? You're not going to be hungry now. Hey, hello. I'm cooking. I'm working. Have some appreciation. Show some respect. Don't be eating nothing else. But when we cook, it ain't ready yet. Come on. Tell me I'm lying, y'all. Put it in the comments. Tell me I'm lying. You know that's how it is. You have to look at behaviors of the male, how the male presents himself in all aspects of life. In all aspects of life, how he interacts with the world is important as a male who has been guided by a male. That's why so many of these young boys wind up with gangs, because they're seeking that relationship, they're seeking that bond. And even though they know these dudes ain't shit, they about nothing, but I ain't got nothing else to do. I don't have pops I can holler at. Yeah, dudes show up every now and then. You know, he come get me. We ain't got nothing to talk about. He may go take me to get some eat. He may drop off some runs and whatnot, but we ain't got no real rap. But these dudes, I can sit here and be good, right? Because now I don't have to deal with the unconscious stuff, because I just keep pushing it, and I keep pushing it, and I keep pushing it. I stay with the iceberg tip. It's easier. Got nothing to deal with. I was 34 years old. I was 34 years old when I actually felt my father's absence. And not, this was, because I got clean in 94. Walked away, told dude, yo, man, I'm not. And he thought I meant I wasn't coming back to the block anymore. I mean, I wasn't coming back to the block that night. You know, that it was a wrap. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, and I had been already standing there for hours, just looking up and down the street, you know, waiting for the call, hollering out the call, you know, the caller. Yeah. You know, the deal. And I was just like, I can't do this no more. Looking over your back for the stick-up boys. Looking over your back for the police. The whole breaking night from Wednesday to Sunday morning. Oh, I ain't coming back. You know, so, but I was doing some step work. It was, you know, early in recovery. I was doing some step work, and I was riding the L. I was on my way. I forgot where I was on my way. I was on my way to work, and I would take my book, and I would just, you know, following the directions of a sponsor at that time. And I started writing about my father, and I was like right in the middle of writing. And I was on the train, man, just like literally the ugly cry. Yeah, people looking at me like, and it was on a not so busy day. Probably was on a Sunday or something. And I'm sitting there and I'm writing, and my eyes well up. Next thing you know, I got like tears dripping on the paper. And for the first time, I missed my father. I was 34, 34, 30, 35. Yeah, about 34, 35. And it just hit me, man, like, yo, I missed my father. Right? I mean, granted, my mom had people that stepped in. There was a neighbor behind us. He took it. He taught me a lot of things, how to shoot pool, you know, how to, you know, auto mechanics, you know, Simonizing and waxing cars. Went to the Atco Speedway. I had never seen stock car race and never saw a funny car up close and personal. Only saw pictures in magazines. Uncle Frank came to get me often. I stayed with him and my Aunt Dee for I don't know 1-2 years at a time. I don't remember what they came and got me, but you know. And even though I will always see my Uncle Frank as a father figure. You know, if he taught me everything, I could pretty much say he taught me just about everything I know about living. You know, about earning a decent living. You know, about earning a living, about working. He had me 9, 10 years old. I was out with him doing exterminating, learning how to mix the chemical and not spray people's furniture and the curtains, and you know, staying on the baseboards and knock the walls and shit. You know, all that kind of stuff. You know, running a lawnmower. Sheesh, man, I think I learned about the motor on a mini bike from one of my cousins, and you know, but I was able to associate the lawnmower motor with all that because that was the motor. Um, so there were males. Uh, I had a lot of old heads. I never hung with people, you know, on a consistent basis who were my age. I always gravitated towards the old heads. Yeah. I was always seeking to learn. I had started drinking when I was young, and I was probably about 14, 15. I used to be over there with the old heads, and they'd be over there drinking wine and whatnot. And one day they got me to drink some Thunderbird. I kept hearing things about Thunderbird. They kept telling me about Thunderbird, and got to put the lemon juice in it. It tastes, you know. And I sit over there with them, man, and they would just look out for me. And I would sit there and get drunk after the first couple squigs. You know, I don't think I made more than 2 rounds, and they were passing the bottle around. See, we did that back in there. We passed the bottle around, right? And it just as many diseases and stuff then it is now. But you know, but I would sit there, and they would tell me, "No, you sit right there." They didn't want me up walking around the hood, you know, under the influence. I would sit there, and I would come to, and they'd be like, "You all right?" Yeah, I'd go on about my business and whatnot. But I always hung around older dudes. I was older women was always my thing. My first encounter, I was 13. She was in the early 20s, 21, 22, which is a whole nother discussion that we'll have at another time. But it was just a matter of, and I didn't understand it, you know, before that day of my cry, how much I had missed him. Yeah. And I went to find him. Yeah, I went to find my father. Yeah. And that's a whole nother discussion that we'll have. But I went to find my father. And actually, our first real connection was my father was with the laborers union in Philly. And I went with the laborers union to include my father to the Million Man March. But we went there to assist with crowd control. That's actually, we went there as Philly Marshals, Philadelphia Marshals. We had Marshals jackets and whatnot, and we aided with traffic and movement. It was just the most beautiful experience for me to be locked in arms, you know, with my dad providing that level of security, because we were right there at the podium. I was probably every bit of about maybe 15, 20 feet from the podium. I remember making eye contact with, I forget his name. Jeez. It reminded me of Thurgood Marshall. I can't think of, but for some reason, him and I made eye contact, and he, you know, wanted the he's still in there now. Just can't think of his name right now. But anyway, him and I made eye contact for whatever reason. You know, he nodded his head, and I nodded back, and it just felt good to be standing there with my father. That was the first bond between me and my father in life. And even today, that means so much. And I still have the hat. I was there. If you didn't go, you didn't get the hat. Unless somebody bought it to you. If they bought it to you, they shouldn't have, because you should have been there. 2 million black men showed up, and you didn't make it to that event. You didn't experience anything like what we experienced. So it wasn't just the fact that I was with my father and locked in arms with my father, but the event itself was so significant that we were there together. Um, but yeah, I'll begin to have that relationship with you. So I got an article here from Psychology Today. You know me, I'm always on. It's by Susan E. Schwartz, PhD. And this is on child development, the tragedy of absent fathers. If we've entered a new era of fatherhood, absence and neglect remain painful. Remain painful. Here's the article. A father can provide a doorway to the world. His interaction forms part of the foundation, integral to identity formation and the expression of one's truth. At each stage of a child's development, the relationship with the father affects the sense of self and gives the confidence to express creative potential. Right? So a father can provide a doorway to the world. His interaction forms part of the foundation. We're just talking about interaction. See, the other stuff I was talking about is mostly when you're not interacting. And a lot of times, the lack of interaction has more to do with the focus being on the relationship between me and mom. Mom with dad. The child is just there, getting direction. The father typically takes on the role of being the disciplinarian, which is a mistake in many ways, but it's the norm in most. But it's necessary that the father too understands himself in terms of the disciplinary action has to have an end game. What are you teaching me in this? Mom already has the empathy, the sympathy, the foundation that the father doesn't have because the child was carried by her. So automatically it's going to be a different kind of relationship because she carried him and because of what she as a woman, as a mother, brings to the table. Little girls have access to things that little boys don't when they're coming up. And I always talk about this. Little girls get Barbie dolls, Susie Bake ovens, grooming things, brushes, combs, makeup, self-care kind of tools. They get homes, doll houses. These things groom the little girl into her natural self. Stop, because I didn't say that. And you know what you see, and this is where this whole thinking errors come into place. Because as soon as something is said about a kitchen, right? First, I see where he's going with this. That's another part of the problem. And we'll talk about male-female communication another time because it also plays into the raising of a child especially when you talk about raising little girls and teaching little girls, you don't need no man. You can't keep a man. And you want to tell her she don't need a man. And you're not looking at why you can't keep a man, because you shouldn't be teaching her that. But as children, little girls are given what appear to be toys, playthings. But these things are shaping her perception. And it's not until the other stuff starts, the noise starts getting fed to her, that she begins to look at things differently. But little boys don't get those kind of things. See, when the little boy goes over there to play with the little girl, he's going over there to have tea. You don't want him going over there to have tea, because that's some girly stuff, because of your own phobia, right? Because that's what it is. It's a phobia, and you don't want to call it that. That's the unconscious stuff. You're so worried about their sexuality that they can't even grow up as a boy or a girl. You have to force feed how that happens. When it's going to happen on its own, with or without you, it's going to happen, whatever it may be. Right? But little boys will go and sit, and because like I have to do that. Like when she fixes something to eat, here, daddy, the 3-year-old does it all the time now. She's always making stuff, and she makes stuff out of stuff. It's not, she doesn't have a Susie bake oven because she tore that the hell up, but that's a whole nother story. But my point is, when you look at what little boys are given for toys, what are they given? Well, I got the G.I. Joe, got the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. I got little army pieces. I got the plastic dinosaurs. I got everything that, well, it built on my masculinity from society's perspective. It added to my aggression. It didn't teach me empathy, because if I'm playing with soldiers, where's the empathy? Oh, you don't harm other children. But if I'm young, I'm harming other children because I'm doing that with my army people, because that's they're army. They're army men. Yeah, I'm the army man. Right? So there's a level of aggression already forming. And then the father backs it up. Like we had Tonka trucks and things like that. But there was nothing there. And if it's just a boy, if it's just boys, right, what are they getting? What do they do most of the time in terms of activity? Right? The aggression. The aggression. Now, girls do the same thing, but girls are preoccupied with other things in life, while we are taught to not be involved in those kind of things. So, again, another aspect of nurturing that has to happen and can only come from the male. But when little girls start playing with the dolls and they want their brother to play with them, the little boy is told he can't play with dolls. Nah, that's some old sissy stuff. You don't do none of that. That's just the message that they're getting. They used to just get it from dad. Now they get it from both sides. You don't do that. But I got a Kung Fu doll. That's not a doll? Well, what's the difference between that and that? What's the difference between the Kung Fu doll and the Barbie doll, other than one's a girl and one's a boy? Right. But what's the difference in terms of how they're sold? Kung Fu doll. That's what it is, a doll. So wouldn't it have been a good thing? Because Kung Fu doll came before Ken, way before Ken. Did you realize that there was no Ken for a long time? Yeah. Back to the article. Until recently, a veil surrounded the father-child relationship and denied the problems and the wounds. And it still happens today. The courts over a period of time, because there used to be parliament involved and all this other stuff, and parliament decided that they had the tender years where a child under the age of 7 would always be awarded to the mother if parents separated. They called it the tender years, and they believed that the child should stay with the mother until the age of 7. After the age of 7, it was open. Then it moved into the best interest of the child. Understand? And that's where it remains today. The best interest of the child. Yeah. That's a whole nother discussion we're going to have. I think that's next week's slot, right, where we'll talk about that. But what is the best interest of the child? How is that opinion formed? Because that's what it is. It's an opinion based on some things. So even though it's the best interest of the child, it says here, right here, and this article was written in 2025. It says here, until recently, a veil surrounded the father-child relationship and denied the problems and the wounds. Until recently. This article was written in 2025. So much hasn't changed, because it just says a veil surrounded. Now let's go into what it says further. Western culture, that's you and I. Western culture, with its patriarchal heritage, silenced their dynamics. Countless generations of fathers had no time or accountability to participate in family life, and their influence became submerged in the unconscious. So that means my absence remains in the unconscious of my children. Now, there's physical absence and there's emotional absence. I was emotionally absent from all of them because my emotional intelligence was far below any scale. I know that. Not knowing that my own unconsciousness contained the same. Understand me? So I was oblivious to it. And the more drugs and alcohol I did, right, made me more and more oblivious, because that's where I wanted to be. Didn't know why, but my transformation over the years have given me an explanation of my absence. My physical absence was attributed to my substance abuse, my lack of stability, always going from pillar to post and back and forth and back and forth. Right? And this was all prior to 94. 94, transformation began to take place. But it began to take place before that, because I was heading in that direction. And I got to the finish line and of that life, of that phase of my life, and transformed into where it is that I was trying to go all along. Back to the article. Yet, according to the classical concepts of Jungian, that's Carl Jung, Jungian analytical thought. We're talking about psychoanalysis at this point. Jungian analytical thought, Carl Jung. The archetypal images of father and child are timeless and contain the seeds of increasing consciousness. The images are perceived through a variety of symbols and cast from the personal and historical, conscious and unconscious interactions. Additional images are internalized from the culture, religion, literature, myths, and fairy tales, reflecting each era and depending on one's personal and transgenerational history. Excuse me. I ain't getting no check, so I ain't showing you water. So when it's talking here about images being internalized, right? Because this is what I was talking about earlier and was just trying to give it to you in layman's terms. When you talk about the classical concepts of Carl Jung, you start looking at thinking, and you start looking at all these concepts that are introduced into that father-child relationship. Because you have to, unfortunately, look at Black culture, if you're Black, white culture, if you're white, and so on and so forth. So that takes precedence in these times. That takes precedence over our humanity. It does. So now I have to deal with life being a Black man, not being a human being, so far away from the alignment that I'm seeking inside to go towards, so far away from that. But now I have to be a Black man. Now I have to be a Westerner. I'm part of Western culture. Now I have to be this and I have to be that. I'm being everything in this society, in man's world. I'm being everything man's world has forced upon me. Everything. Everything. I am no longer a human being. I'm a human being to myself because I see these things, and I got hands, I got feet, I got eyes, ears, nose, and some don't have those things, but they're still a human being. Everybody is so fascinated by the Ray Charleses and the Stevie Wonders of the world, and wonder why the music is so deeply connected to the world as it is, because there's a different vision. And you keep hearing this. It did the album Inner Vision. If you go listen to the album Inner Vision now, and get the definition of inner vision, and then listen to the music. And you'll have a better idea of how Stevie sees the world from inside, and how Stevie internalizes the outer things through his filters as one who you would think, many of us think, is inside, but Stevie is just as outside as anybody with sight. But his sight comes from a place where we need to go. In order for us to have forward progress, to really experience life and the transformations that come along with living, you have to go inside. You have to get to your unconscious self. It exists. It plays itself out in every day and everything you do. That's why you're acting the way you do, because of your unconsciousness. You think that you're acting. Listen, it's your unconscious self that is really running your life. And you think you're conscious of that. So when people say that there's a self known only to you, there's a self that's unknown, they call it the unknown self. It's a self that is only known to others and not by you. Right? Because when you're confronted on it, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do none of that. I'm not even that kind of person. Well, that's not what we've been seeing. Right? And we've been seeing it because your unconscious lives and breathes with the subconscious and the conscious. But it supersedes them, and you just don't know it yet. We're getting close to the hour. Here, back to the article, the importance of the father is emphasized as both an outer and an inner object or figure in development. This writing is an attempt to articulate a problem that is, or should be, preoccupying us in our times. The absence is something many can identify with, as it is sadly not an uncommon story. Children and their fathers is a story of desire. And like all objects of desire, it is powerful and evocative. The father problem reaches the intrapsychic depths of an archetypal roots to issues of self and culture, wherein lie the complex aspects and the patriarchal biases many are raised on. Children were to be docile and fathers untouched, as if they were not essential to their children's lives. As Donald Winnicott, British psychoanalyst and pediatrician, said, the little depth or detail about the role of the father was also because he had such a small definition in the family and was not significant as a male person. So this is not something that just happens to be. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why fathers are seen to be so damn insignificant. But our creation dictates otherwise. And every time we're in the position of trying to exercise that which we've been ordained with, we get shot down because we have a society that sees us as ATMs. We just pay the bills, you sit down, and you just let her do what she's doing. And you take a smaller role because it's like we almost get in line and allow mom to do as she pleases. That if she says she needs this fixed, we're there to fix that. If she says that this we need to do this, and then we do that. The nurturing part, we're not even included in that. Like we can't, like we don't know how to do that. And many of us don't know how to do that. Many of us don't know how to do that. I remember how brash the doctor was when my 3-year-old was born. First of all, they was out in the hallway. They weren't even in the room when she popped out. She in there pushing. She's telling me it's coming. I'm saying, well, hold on, wait a minute. They're not even in there. Here comes my daughter. He comes in there after she's already popped out, and then, aren't you going to cut the like he's talking to me like I don't, like you so used to dealing with people who don't know and don't show what, I don't know what, is it culture? Did you like, you had to talk to me in a way like, no, aren't you going to cut the cord? Well, I'm standing here with the baby. Right? Cut the cord. Like you feel the need, like to tell me. Is that how you as a white doctor see a black man and black woman? Or are you so desensitized to those who come in who don't seem to be sensitive to these kind of things that you're so used to a father, sitting off to the side and standing there like, proud papa beating his chest, right? While the mother is there pushing and all these things, and you're not involved in any of that. But here you come in, I'm standing there, and you don't know how to deal with that? Like, dude, I'm standing right here. I don't have the scissors. You have to give them to me. What do you think I'm standing here for? But then when the child comes out and the cord is cut, then he takes the baby, they get to it, and again, and he said, hold your baby. Well, I'm just laying in the bed. I'm waiting to get, she hasn't even got, but it's a whole mindset. It's a whole mindset. And I really wanted to cuss dude out, like, dude, this is not my first child. I'm standing here, really delivering my own damn child. But you're talking to me like, hey, come, aren't you going to cut the cord? Well, give me the scissors, man. What are you rushing for? Oh, you're embarrassed because your ass wasn't standing here. So here I am, a black man standing here waiting. Like, you're going to take care of what? I don't know what to do here. I'm not just going to grab the baby and start cutting stuff and tying stuff and not clipping stuff. I'm standing there. You got to clip. Can you get the clip on? So I'm saying all this to say that as fathers, we have to do better in exercising the right. We are nurturing. We are loving and caring. We don't just go from hole to hole. We hurt when somebody leaves. We hurt when our child is taken away from us. We hurt when you don't let us see our child. And a lot of stuff that y'all mothers do, we take on the chin. And the child sees it as us being insensitive to their needs. No, we just sick of the nonsense. And we get tired. We're already drained by society, by the Western world's perception of us as fathers and how we're put in this little tiny spot of the child's life, and we got a whole child. The children don't know what daddy does until the damn electric is cut off, until the gas is off, right? So there's no lights in the house, the refrigerator's empty. Oh, and your father didn't. Like, that's the only damn thing we need to stop fitting into that mold. We need to stop fitting into that mold. We need to fight as hard as the mother does in her rights. And if I got to take the mother to court, I'm taking her to court. We have to fight for that child. One of my daughters asked me, she said, Dad, help me understand something. She said, because I can't understand how a man can invest so much time and energy into, a relationship with a woman and don't put that same time, energy, and effort into their own child. You know, and I've thought about that ever since. We have to do better. No, I'm not, listen, I'm not saying that we're not doing. I'm saying that we have the power. I am. You have to tell yourself, we have to tell ourselves, I am. And the world needs to know, I am. I am all that I am. I am not what I have been relegated to be by you in society, by Western culture, by obviously a very biased culture. But it ain't new. It ain't new. Look at the history of the judges that are currently in family courts. We have the power to change all that. We can shut all that down. Why? Because I am. Because I am. I am not what you have considered me to be for all of these years. I am not that. And I'm going to stop being that. I am not going to sit back anymore and just allow a mother to deny me my rights and to sit back like a wounded child and let her give me the crumbs that she wants to give me when she wants to. I'm not going to do that because I don't owe you an explanation. I owe the child the explanation because you won't give the child the truth. I have to give the child the explanation for why I didn't fight harder. Because I'm so damn busy fighting with you. But that's why we're not together. But she ain't in that argument by herself. Stop laying up with her, making her think that she still has value in your life when she has totally devalued you with the relationship between you and your child. It's no argument. You're supposed to meet me at 6 o'clock. You want me to meet you at 6 o'clock in front of the police station because you're trying to give the court some kind of appearance of something that ain't happening. You want to get loud and disrespectful with your mouth. And then when I clap back, now you a victim. Now we need to shut that down. Shut that down. You want to see your child? She's not participating. Get rid of that old weak mindset. And take what belongs to you. Because I am. And I'm not going to let you stop me. I did that. I felt like I had no right because I had lowered myself to a position in life of just being in the street. Just selling drugs and doing drugs. I'm just saying. This is an article that's telling you. This is something that they just removed the veil of recent. Now, that's her perception. That's her perception. You can't change what's written here, though. If this is a PhD that's writing this article, it's a woman. I haven't read all of her stuff. And again, I always have the disclaimer. It's the first time I'm reading the article. I'm not in agreement with any. I give you my experience, my clinical experience, my personal experience, give you academics. You make the choice. I'm just telling you what it says here. I'm just telling you the evidence speaks for itself. You have your own evidence. Sit on your step in your community and look around. How many fathers do you see in the house? Because that goes into a whole nother discussion about why are we not committing to those relationships? Why are we not committing to those relationships? When a woman has a child by you, there's a very deep connection. There's a reason why you're getting the response so viciously about your absence. You need to think about that. Because one of the questions I always asked was, did you even like her? Like, nah, we was just. And you, the woman, know that's how it happened. Because how could you be in a position, male or female, to be with somebody without any level of protection and then call it an unwanted, an unplanned pregnancy? You're rolling dice. The ownership of the situation began there. And that should change your whole attitude. Because I wasn't by myself in this. Because that's the first thing that is said to the man. I didn't do this on my own. You're right. You didn't. But can we stay with that for a minute? Because you keep beating me upside my head and thinking that I should be at a point in my life where I'm being responsible. I never said that I was. That wasn't part of the question. What's up don't mean are you responsible. Batting your eyes and, buying all these drinks don't imply anything other than what you're doing in the moment. You done bought me 4 or 5 drinks. You trying to get something. But you using bill money to do this because you're trying to get something. So the bill is late. Again, because if you're trying to get something, you all right with. But you don't know that. You just know he just wined and dined you. Because that's what you reduce yourself to, a wine and dine. That's the kind of conversations that must be had with you. Because you still trying to tell me who I should be for you, that's not going to make it work. And that's all I keep hearing the argument about. She this, she that, he this, he that. No, I did this. I'm not going to sit here and blame him because he wasn't in this by himself with this. He didn't just do this by himself. I got pregnant because of my own actions. I impregnated her because of my own actions. I shouldn't be getting mad at her and arguing and screaming and doing all this with her. I should be doing this with myself. Because I was part of part of the reason why this is where it's at. So accept the fact that, yeah, she's pissed. And I need to understand that. It's not for me to sit down and go back and forth with her about I was the only one. That's not the issue. The issue is what are we going to do to make the life of the child better? So now we start going into co-parenting. But we can't even get there because you want to control this, you want to control that. I want to control. I don't want no other Negroes around my daughters. Right, what man does? But damn, you're not even there with her. You haven't done anything to fix the relationship. So y'all are together. Neither one of y'all thought about that. But then she do the same thing. I don't want them exes around my children. All right, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I watched the court stuff. My wife watches and I be listening to people like, this is my son. I didn't even know that the little boy was his son because he didn't say his son. He kept on saying the child, her child. Like not one point, but then you say you love your child, but you can't even remind her that this is our child. She can't say to him, our child. It's about her just dropping the child off, taking the child to his job and leaving the child there, then complaining he doesn't have an income because now he done lost his job because of your behavior. So he doesn't have a job. So you got him back in court again because he's not paying child support. You just made him lose his job. What's that about? Are you thinking about the child when you do stuff like that? You come to her crib and want to step to her dude because you don't want to do, but you're not doing anything to like, yo, we need to have a relationship together. Listen, we going to be husband and wife. We going to get married. We going to make this work. We're going to do counsel, whatever, because I want our child to. How many of us did that? Right? How many of us did that? That's a lot to think about, man. It's a lot to talk about, man. Yeah. So listen, Daddy's Right Here will be on from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Went a little over today because I was having some difficulty getting the live on to here. I don't know why, but we finally got that. But 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. every Sunday morning. Join me. We got a lot to talk about. Dads, stop giving up. Don't give up. Stop fighting. Right? Stop. You already know what pisses her off. Focus on the best interest of the child. Where is this conduct right now going to benefit the relationship with the child? When you focus on doing what it is, because I am, you make it happen. Because you're the problem and the solution. You're the problem and solution. Believe what I tell you. It's been my experience. You start disconnecting buttons. You stop letting yourself be controlled. You stop pushing the ones you know piss her off. Everything begins to change because you keep your focus on the child. You keep your focus on the child. Plain and simple. And you document everything. Can't she get mad? If we've made every effort, if you've made every effort to fix this so you can be there for the child, but let me tell you this. It's not going to happen overnight. But you put your focus solely on the child, right? She'll see the change in the child because of this relationship. If this is what she truly wants, better for the child, then she'll get on board. But as long as you keep calling her outside of her name, banging on the phone, going back and forth, remember her condition, your condition. We're not going to be in the same condition. We're not going to be in the same phase of transformation. Very rarely is it that we're both at the same point. But when you're at that point of transition, that's where you are. The other person ain't there. You need to let them be where they at. You can't take a person away from where they are. You took all the chaos. You took all the shenanigans. You took all the mouthiness before the shot. Then after the shot, you thought it was going to change? You took all the breaking of nights. You took all him just coming by and dropping money off and coming in the house 3, 4. You took all of that before the shot, before you got pregnant. Then you expected him to switch gears because that's your expectation. That's what you think a man is. That's what you think a father is. That's what you think he should be doing. You're seeking satisfaction for yourself, but putting it on the back of the child and saying what he's not being. But you were benefiting from that drug money. You were benefiting from that blood money. You were okay with that then. Now you want him to do something different. I've been taking care of myself just like this before you. And if I'm committed to it, I'm going to keep on doing it this way. You can't turn around and switch gears now and say, oh, well, he's not safe there. He wasn't safe in the beginning. You know what that brings, but it didn't matter. See, look at all the stupid reasons that y'all give to keep going at each other's throat. Some people just like chaos. Some people are just mean and evil by choice. Because you're created with both. And let me say this. You're created. The hell that you live, you put yourself in. The heaven that you live, you created for you. Do what you want to do. But stop killing your child. Stop beating your child down. Stop putting your child in a position to fail. And even though I say that failure is only learning what doesn't work, for a child to be put into a position, an unlearned mind, to be put into that position is not right. And they're going to put themselves in harm's way all the time because they are trying to come into self. But everything outside of me will destroy me. Everything outside of me will bring harm to me. Everything outside of me will influence what direction I take. When you look at the responsibility that you have been given, you've already been equipped and prepared, and you're not using that power like you're supposed to use it because you're too busy satisfying man's world instead of the world that you were created for. You weren't created for man's world. You were created to be in alignment with the world far greater than all that you've been living. Far greater than all of this. And you have to understand that. And that's for both parents. My focus is on the understanding that a father has to understand that he has been already given. At the point of conception, it belongs to you. All of this belongs to you. You can keep going at this rate and following the insanity of what man has created. Or you can fall in line. Matter of fact, you can fall in alignment with what you were created to be. And realize that I am all that I am. Okay? Because you can make it happen. Because you can make it happen. But you have to make that choice. You have to make that choice. Yeah. You have to make that choice. Everything that happens in your life, you have a choice. You choose to argue, you argue. You choose to not listen, you choose to not listen. You choose to not learn, it's your choice. Things change based on the choice you make. I'm not going to argue with you anymore. Stop arguing. But it's a process. Stop arguing as much. If you talk to The mom 4 days a week. Out of 4 days, it's nothing but a knockdown, drag out, conflict and confrontation about nothing that is relevant, really relevant. It's just her perspective on things. Nothing to argue about. Let her talk. Or you can just say, hey, listen, this is not going anywhere. We're not, I don't feel like we're solving anything. You're just yelling and screaming at me as you often do, right? I shut down. I stopped listening after a while. That's not what I want to do, but that's what happens for me. When you just sit there and yell and scream and yell and scream and make me feel like I'm nothing, like I'm nobody. Just keep calling me for money, but you don't give me time with my child. Keep asking me to live above my means, but you walking around Gucci down. All the time. And you want me to keep putting that on my child. I don't do that. So now I'm unfit to be a father because I don't put those kind of things on my child. But you keep my child from me. You saw me and never gave me your phone number and say, here, listen, whenever you want to, here's the number. But you tell the child something else. But you will come over and sleep with me. But you will tell the child something else. You judge me for a condition that I was in at that particular time, like you were in a better position. But you were with me. And now you talk about me to our child. Now my child has this perception of me that you gave. And they're resistant to my truths. Because they are my truths. Stop playing. Listen, y'all could be doing anything else on a Sunday morning than listening to me. I appreciate you being here this morning. I appreciate those of you who also pick up the show later when it's reposted. Or pick it up later when you come in the house. You have things to do. You have life to live. Life goes on. But stay tuned because the GoFundMe page is about to be set up real soon. It's time for Florida to experience Daddy's right here. Yeah, it's time. It's time. Run and tell him he's here. Run and tell him he's coming. Go tell him now. Go tell them now. A spiritual tsunami is about to hit South Florida. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, as always, Sabir Aline. Y'all have a great, fantastic, wonderful rest of your day. I know I am, because I'm just thankful to have another day above ground. Somebody didn't get today. Somebody did not get today. I'm thankful for having it. Hey, make sure y'all leave me some comments, Tell me your thoughts. Share your experience. I want to hear more from you. I know you got something to say, right? I know you got something to say. Keep it respectful. But it's a lot of fathers out there. It's a lot of stuff that I said I know you can relate to. There's other fathers out there that need to hear from you too, not just from me. There's a lot of mothers out there who experience these conflicts and confrontations and know they need to do better too. Tell us. Tell us how much you appreciate us as fathers. Tell us how much of a commitment you're going to make to change in how you interact with the father. We need each other. We need each other to be there for our children. not just on holidays. Father's Day is every day, not just one Sunday out of the year, just like Mother's Day. Fathers are needed. Fathers are necessary. Yeah. Don't you want your child to be successful? Don't you want your child to grow healthily? Healthily? I know you do. Come on, let that other stuff go. Let's make it happen. I still haven't decided what song I'm going to put to this beat. A new one, an old one. I heard about you. You got 3 stage names. Getting cash from that 3 a.m. slider who's effing can't sing. You're gold digging floozy, lying cold beds. You're still finding pyrite and you're still being misled. You're conditioned to believe that men always pay your way. You're a golden glamour girl who's always gone astray. You're looking for love, always finding it in faces, forfeiting your dreams. To you, a good man's tasteless. If you're coming at me, you best bring your A game, because I could care less about your A-frame. Just keep it moving along. If you want that fake fame, girl, you gotta wanna be boss to have my safe name. You gotta wanna be boss to have my safe name. Girl, you gotta wanna be boss to have my safe name. See, that's the slow version of the song, Stage Name. Yeah. And I just, try to experiment with bringing the up-tempo songs down to a slower tempo and taking my slow tempo songs and bringing them up tempo. Because when I wrote these songs, when I write songs so fast. I don't really have a chance like I have of my most recent album, Gods in a Man's World. I took a lot of time with that album. But most of the stuff, I write it. The next you know, I'm recording it. It's out. It's out. And so I hadn't really had a whole lot of time to... I don't know what tempo this song is going to be. I'm a poet. I'm a storyteller. So all my songs have a story. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have to listen to my songs, and you'll know that. But it's just like with my artwork. Like, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. So I just start somewhere. So when you look at like the work behind me, this piece back here that I did, right? This is called The Arrival. That's the name of this drawing. It's pen and ink and wax pencil. If you look at it closely, you see all these little tiny dots. This was so therapeutic. That's why I do this pen and ink. It's so therapeutic, right? And I would never know what it's going to be. It's everything back here. I didn't know what this was going to be. I said I wanted to do something for fatherhood. And if you've ever watched the videos, check out the videos that I post on the Aleem For You page, Facebook page, and you'll see I'm on there. I'll be here for hours sometime because I don't know what I'm going to be. So when you watch the video, you're like, damn, this thing is like 2 hours long, 3 hours long, because I'm thinking, I'm creating it along the way, the background. I mean, the texture of the background. If you even look at the texture of the background, this is not just a flat background, right? I've had to think about what background I wanted to do. And yes, this is one of the backgrounds that is in PowerPoint, but it's modified as well. It's modified. So I did some texturizing to it. I made a different texture. Instead of it having like a fabric texture, I gave it a grainy texture. So I used that, and then I went and I took this clip of Dope Dad, and I didn't want to just put an image of a father and son. I added another image, right, that was similar in nature, just very colorful design, and I merged them together, right? So I don't know what they're going to be, and I just sit there and I just, put it together. Yeah, just put it together. Yeah. And because I had the difficulty this morning, I don't see the basket. It might be on my other thing. But you should see something that pops up that says like shop now. There should be a purse at the bottom next to your comment. There should be a little purse there, basket. You can just click on that and opens up. I had so many difficulties with trying to just get this thing on this one. I never went back and put on what needs to be put on. I see one thing there. I just popped something up there. But you'll be able to. Yeah, so I don't think I had anything there, but the functionality should show something there. But I'll get that. I'll fix it and remedy that. I just had some issues this morning. But yeah, there it is. It's just two. Two popped up. All right, two popped up. Did Zach have three? Yeah, three popped. There you go, three. So they're popping up now. In there. Just go ahead and take a gander, man, and see what it is that's in there. But check out the website, AleneForYou.net, and just look at the merchandise, man. That's all you got to do. Just look at it. Just look at the merchandise. Take a good look at your merchandise, right? So right now you have a Clack fan. Look at the Clack fans. I think I have about 30 Clack fans. Have about the same amount of mini hoodie dresses, right? Look at the designs. They're not just slapped onto the merchandise. I mean, you got butterflies strategically placed on the dresses. You have faces, strategically placed, because it's a vibe, man. It's a whole vibe. We don't just sell merchandise. Yeah, y'all see? Oh, the Daddy's Right Here merchandise. I'm getting ready to solidify what's going to be sold. I currently have several items there. You'll be able to see those posted as well. Look at the prices on them. The Daddy's Right Here merchandise is going to benefit. Yeah, part proceeds goes to benefit Daddy's Right Here. Like I said, I'm going to do a GoFundMe page, but I also purchased merchandise. And the merchandise that I posted, I think we probably got like about a 4%, it's under 5% profit margin, just so we can pay the bills, right? But, the proceeds, I'll be going to Daddy's Right Here on those particular things. Then we'll have other things that you'll buy. You'll see that the notification, part proceeds from this sale go to Daddy's Right Here. So we're looking to create a funding stream that we don't have to rely upon grants and things like that. So Alene For You, Daddy's Right Here, one and the same. It's all about messaging. It's a vibe. Yeah. Artistic imaginations manifested. Yeah. Daddy's Right Here. Facing and embracing our responsibilities. Right? facing and embracing our responsibilities that I am. Nothing stops you from doing it. All of this stuff works together. Look at the message here. Look at the message here. Dope dad. Supportive mom. Look at the happiness on that young man's face. Look. I got to keep left and right. Right? Look. This is life. Right? It's just two people who have a child and they're looking out for the child. Right? We don't have to be all hunky-dory. We ain't got to give hugs and kisses when we see each other. We need to show a mutuality of respect. You understand? I should be in the house, even if we don't live together. My presence should be in the house with that child. That child should know if I'm acting disrespectful towards my mother, my dad gonna get a call. I'm gonna get a call, or I'm gonna get a visit. My mother is going to ensure that that visit, that call happens. Okay. Daddy's right here. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, and the same thing with your music. Everything is together, man. I am. I am all that I am. Yeah. Peace.